The distress beacon pierced through subspace like a scream in the void. Ambassador Krelix of the Verosian Collective trembled as he transmitted the final coordinates, his 6 manipulator appendages shaking with exhaustion. His homeworld, Veros Prime, had mere cycles left before the Corinthian armada would glass the entire planet. The Collective had exhausted every diplomatic channel, every defense protocol. Now, in desperation, they had activated the ancient emergency broadcast system, a relic from the old alliance that predated even the memory wars. Any sentient species within range, Krelix's voice crackled across the quantum bands. This is Veros Prime. We are under siege. Civilian population of 4 billion. We have children here. If anyone can hear this, please. We need help. He didn't expect a response. The old alliance had crumbled millennia ago. Most civilizations had either perished or retreated into their own corners of the galaxy. The Corinthians, savage and relentless, had exploited this isolation, conquering system after system with impunity. 73 hours later, something answered. The response came not as a message, but as a presence. Krelix's sensors screamed warnings as massive gravitational distortions appeared at the edge of the Veros system. 1 ship, then 10, then 100. Then more, until his counting system simply gave up and displayed. Error. Fleet size exceeds computational parameters. What in the void? Krelix whispered, his bioluminescent skin flashing colors of confusion and terror. The vessels were unlike anything in the Collective's databases. Brutal, angular things that seemed designed more for ramming than elegance. They bore scars, actual battle damage that hadn't been repaired as if worn as badges of honor. And the energy signatures. Krelix's blood went cold. These ships were running on barely contained fusion reactors, primitive kinetic weapons alongside energy cannons, and something his sensors couldn't even classify. A communication channel opened. The voice that emerged was rough, layered with what the universal translator struggled to interpret as multiple emotional undertones. Veros Prime, this is the UTDF Indomitable, flagship of the United Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. Sorry for the delay. We were on the other side of the Sagittarius arm. We're here now. Where do you need us? To Terran? Krelix stammered. His database pulled up the entry. Deathworld Classification 12 Alpha. Forbidden Zone. Quarantine protocols active. Species emerged from a planet with lethal atmospheric pressure, aggressive megafauna, constant tectonic activity, and according to one explorer's final log, water that falls from the sky as if the planet itself is trying to drown its inhabitants. You're the Deathworlders, Krelix breathed. Some call us that, the voice replied with what the translator interpreted as dark amusement. We prefer humans now about those hostiles. Before Krelix could respond, the Corinthian fleet engaged. 300 warships, each the size of a small moon, unleashed a barrage that had reduced fortified worlds to cosmic dust. The plasma lances and antimatter torpedoes streaked toward the human fleet in a wall of annihilation. The humans didn't evade. They accelerated directly into the onslaught. Krelix watched in horror and awe as the human vessels tanked hits that should have vaporized them. Their shields, crude kinetic barriers and ablative armor rather than elegant energy fields, shed the impacts like water off stone. And when they closed the distance, the humans revealed why they were feared. They fought like their planet had taught them to fight. Viciously, adaptably, without mercy for those who threatened the innocent. Railguns firing tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds tore through Corinthian shields designed to deflect energy weapons. Missiles, actual chemical rockets that the Collective had abandoned centuries ago, weaved through point defense systems with an unpredictability that AI-guided weapons couldn't match because humans were piloting them manually, making split-second decisions that no computer would dare. But it was the boarding actions that truly defined the battle. Human Marines encased in powered armor that was somehow both primitive and terrifying, breached Corinthian flagships. The reports coming through made Krelix's blood freeze. Humans fighting in conditions that would kill most sentient species within seconds. Compartments exposed to vacuum, radiation-flooded sections, even one report of humans continuing to fight after their suit's life support had been compromised, holding their breath for what the translator insisted was several minutes, but which had to be an error. The Corinthian admiral, a veteran of 50 campaigns, sent one final transmission before his flagship was boarded. What manner of species are you? The human response was simple. We're from Earth, and you just threatened children. 18 hours later, the Corinthian armada was shattered. Not defeated, shattered. Of 300 warships, only 47 survived to retreat, and those only because the humans let them go, evidently preferring that they return home with a message. As the human fleet established orbit around Veros Prime, Krellis found himself in direct communication with Admiral Sarah Chen of the UTDF Indomitable. She looked remarkably unintimidating for someone who had just orchestrated one of the most decisive military victories in recent galactic history. Bipedal, hair on her head, forward-facing eyes that marked her as a persistence predator. Ambassador Krelix, she said, her voice now gentle, concerned. We're deploying medical ships and relief supplies. Your people have been through hell. Let us help. Why? Krelix asked, the question escaping before he could stop it. Why did you come? We're strangers to you. Your people were under quarantine. You risked everything for beings you've never met. Admiral Chen smiled, and it was a strange expression, showing teeth which should have been threatening, but somehow wasn't. Ambassador, where we come from? We have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We heard your call. We heard you say you had children who needed protecting. She paused, her eyes distant. We've been where you are. We know what it's like to face extinction, and we decided a long time ago that if we ever made it to the stars, we'd never let it happen to anyone else if we could prevent it. Krelix felt moisture gathering in his optical sensors, his species equivalent of tears. The galaxy thought you were monsters. Maybe we are, Chen admitted, but we're monsters who answered distress calls. Now let's get your people to safety and start rebuilding. And Ambassador, you're not alone anymore. You never will be again. As human relief workers began coordinating with Verosian officials, as human engineers shared schematics for defensive installations, as human doctors worked alongside collective medics, Krelix understood something profound. The Deathworlders weren't to be feared because of their capacity for violence. They were to be feared because of their capacity for compassion, and what they would do to anyone who threatened it. The galaxy would learn this lesson well. The humans had arrived, and they had no intention of letting the darkness win.